Hey guys, it's Edward. This video series, Welcome to the Coding Interview, You Suck, is based on a guide I wrote a few months back on how to actually ace the coding interview. And to be honest, I'm surprised you guys actually liked it. Seriously, how is it that you guys like being talked down to by an elitist persona who tells you how much you suck and why you need to get good? Well, this isn't going to be like that. I'll try to be nicer about it in these videos. Today, I'm going to introduce to you the idea of getting good and the 5 reasons why you should invest a significant amount of quality time into getting good at the interview. And I'm not talking about messing around with leak code submissions with Netflix in the background. I mean, actually treating this like a craft that you can and should be extremely competent at. Or at least you should get to that point. I will at least try to convince you that even though the coding interview has little to do with actual production level coding, you should take this coding interview far more seriously than you would a college exam. It's an opportunity to really discover what it takes to do proper real-world coding because, like it or not, there is a reason why this format is widely accepted and used. So, welcome to the coding interview. You suck. Now, for those who do not know, the coding interview today consists of a series of questions that ask candidates to solve a problem using common computer science data structures and algorithms. There are some behavioral and system design questions as well, but for the most part, your data structure and algorithm questions are the bread and butter of these interviews. They test how well a person can think through these toy problems as a measure of how qualified they are as a software developer. So if you're watching this right now, chances are you're in the middle of preparing for a coding interview and you suck at coding interviews. But I'm not here to give you some diluted or vague tip list that's confusing to apply. This isn't some 10-minute video by some influencer with a pretty face who needs to pump out content for the YouTube algorithm. And I'm not going to give you any shortcuts to beat your phone screen that's going to come up in 3 days. Seriously, if your phone interview is in 3 days, why are you watching this? Go study. Just turn off YouTube. Turn off all that. No, the purpose of this series is to package all the information in a systemic pattern that anyone can apply and be good. These videos are about being able to beat any coding interview, land any job offer at any time. Now, the way I see it, as a candidate, your job is to be able to consistently perform under any circumstance. Whether that's raining or shining outside, 4 a.m. or 4 p.m., whether you're sick or well. And actually, it's easier than ever to do this. There are far more resources and material out there that cover coding interview prep. Cracking the Coding Interview, HackerRank, LeetCode, Grokking, Elements of Programming Interview. All these are resources that are well known and weren't as readily available 4 to 5 years ago when I was first applying. So there are many ways to study, and the interview process is a very well understood, mostly uniform and predictable exam. The range of topics might still be broad, but for the most part, you still encounter questions across companies that are similar in terms of difficulty and topic. Without exception, every company asks some form of data structures and algorithm questions, and all these data structures and algorithms are fairly basic as well. Trees, arrays, heaps, sorting, and so on. Another reason why it's actually very easy to get good at these is because you can reasonably predict these questions ahead of time. There's only a finite amount of manipulations that you can do on these structures. I mean, you're not going to know every single question, but you can reasonably understand the scope and what kind of manipulations you need to have practiced in order to actually do well on these. And in my view, the best way to beat a predictable exam and get any offer you want to is, well, be consistent and predictable. Consistently and predictably good. We're not trying to be bad here. So it becomes very easy to actually get good at these in a couple hundred hours. Now, the counter argument to all this,
well, why should I spend hundreds of hours on an exam that I know will have no value to me once it's over? I'm not going to be implementing Dijkstra's algorithm in production level coding, so what's the point? Better save some effort and do the bare minimum to pass. There are other things that I should do. Why do I need to spend 100 hours locked in my room and never see the light of day for a month or two? After all, I can always climb the corporate ladder and get promoted.
For the most part, yes. A lot of the algorithms you learn when studying for the interview are pretty much worthless outside of the interview. Sliding window, 2-pointers, reversing a linked list, all these are things no one really ever writes. They're all in standard libraries, yet you need to master them in order to do well on the interviews. So without further ado, here are the 5 reasons why you should get good at the interview. First, it increases your negotiating power when it comes to the job, and you can actually ask for a higher salary. The more offers you have, the stronger your hand is when convincing the company to give you more money. After all, if you have multiple competing offers, every company will try to outbid each other in order to try and acquire you, at least to a reasonable extent. For the signing bonus, this can be anywhere from $20K to $50K, depending on the level and position. So, reasonably speaking, you could go from a low L3 engineer to a mid L3 engineer. which works out to be about a $50,000 difference. In the most extreme cases, maybe you get up-leveled, where you apply as an L3 engineer, but instead you end up getting an L4 offer. You could potentially be looking at about $100,000 a year in terms of salary. So those 200 hours that you spend could be worth anywhere from $250 an hour to $500 an hour. What other job could pay you like that? Secondly, it's not that difficult to pass these interviews, and a little effort goes a long way. Even a company as conservative as Google, you're looking at about a 10 to 20% pass rate once you get to the on-site. That's like getting a B in school or getting into UC Berkeley or UCLA. It's not entirely impossible, and chances are, once you pass the interview at one company, you're likely to pass it at another company. So let's do some math. Let's ignore all the non-quantitative factors and solely focus on passing. Let's assume that you have on-sites for 3 top-tier tech companies and that all the companies have the same pass rate. Using this math I'm going to put up on the screen, at a 10% pass rate, you have about a 27% chance of getting at least one offer. At a 20% pass rate, you have a 48% chance of getting one offer. At a 30% pass rate, your chances are 65%. So if you could turn your pass rate from 10 to 20%, you could double your chances of getting an offer into a top-tier tech company. Well, what exactly does that look like? If we assume that you need a 3/5 majority vote to pass an interview, this means across 10 interviews with 5 questions, you turn 1 rejection into an acceptance. This can mean doing well on just 1 to 3 questions out of the 50. To scale this down to our 3 interview example, it can mean anything from making a little more progress on a single question or turning a question that you cannot answer into one that you can. And just by doing that, you doubled your chances of getting an offer. And in the interview, every little moment counts. Third, working up the ladder is arguably much harder. There are people who have many more years of experience than you, who are more knowledgeable than you, who will be first in line for promotions. Even if you do a stellar job, there are only so many promotions that can go around in your team. Everyone will be scrambling to take on high impact projects or take credit for things. You'll be playing a much different game than simply being compensated for your contribution and skill. Now, if you're a social and personable guy, then maybe going up the ladder is for you. It involves getting the right people to like you, communicating in the right way, and attuning what other people's perception of you is in order to get them to cooperate. And I don't mean this in a manipulative way. I mean this in a basic human way. Human interaction is based on perception, and it's easier to cooperate with someone who likes you than who dislikes you. For instance, if you play a video game pub like Dota 2 or League, would you rather play with a person who rages all the time and screams on the mic but is a high-skilled player? Or would you rather play with someone who's nice and makes the game pleasant but isn't as high-skilled? I think most people would actually choose the second one, because skill is something that can change with time and practice. Human nature, not so much. So ultimately, that choice is up to you, to gamble on human nature or to use your own abilities to secure your own position. Personally, I would choose the latter because I can't control other people's actions, nor am I very good at influencing people or their perception of me personally. I can only control my own abilities, my own skill level, and actions, so I'd rather work in the realm I have the most control over. Fourth, there is a very high cost of failure. If you fail in an interview, it will be 8 months to a year before you can even reapply. That lost year can amount to not just hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost potential pay from a top-tier tech company, but it can also mean stalling in your own career. You lose the opportunity to learn from smart people because, truthfully, the engineers at these top-tier tech companies, there's a reason why they're there. Top-tier tech companies hire the smartest and most experienced developers in the world to work on apps that affect people's lives to the tune of billions of dollars a year. To make that sort of impact, you need to have the smartest people who can figure out the problems associated with the products you're making, or even produce new products. For instance, Google Chrome was actually started by the current CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai. So, being able to work with people who could potentially be the next Sundar is actually very life-changing. They have years of experience and knowledge that you can draw upon simply by being around them. And in fact, in my own career at Apple, I remember there was this one developer. He was absolutely one of the smartest guys I ever knew and was a senior developer on our team. It was through my interactions with him and other people on the team who were older and smarter than me did I even begin to learn the skills necessary to write professional code suitable for a top-tier tech company. I copied everything they did, studied the work that they did. I read and studied all their merge requests, their comments, and read every single book they recommended to me. And it was because of their guidance and simply being around them that I'm here able to talk about these topics with you guys today. Not only that, they were a big reason why I managed to land a senior developer job at Uber and get so many offers. So losing that 1 year can mean making no progress, staying in the exact same spot you are now. And keep in mind, there's a reason why you're applying to top-tier tech companies. By failing, you're stuck with that reason and situation for a full another year. And finally, the fifth reason, The coding interview is also an opportunity in and of itself to grow as a software engineer. And despite my emphasis on getting the right answer in these LeetCode questions, there is a non-quantifiable dimension to scoring. I plan to address all of these in a separate video, but suffice it to say, these factors are not insignificant. There are many signs of a good engineer and a bad engineer that go far beyond simply getting the right and wrong answer on LeetCode. In fact, being able to do every single LeetCode question isn't even a mark of a good engineer. It's the mentality and approach you take to solving these questions that distinguish you and also help you write much, much better code. Just like any craft, there are plenty of small nuances and details that an experienced developer can pick up, ranging from code structure to design choices to even how the developer presents themselves. For instance, this is something I see a lot in my coaching sessions. I see a candidate try to code before they even understand what their code is supposed to do. This makes no sense to me, and is a sign of a very bad software developer. You oftentimes have bugs that are simply the result of poor or short-sighted thinking, where people are even trying to code before they even know what the problem they are trying to solve is. When this code inevitably breaks, you have to spend almost twice the amount of effort just to clean it up and make it right. And while yes, at the time it might have been the correct move to make given the constraints, it should be avoided unnecessarily. Constantly cleaning up unnecessary messes kills team morale and wastes time and man hours that can be spent on more productive endeavors. Those can be features or meaningful bug fixes that can save the company millions of dollars and make everyone look better. While you might think you won't do this in a real environment, oftentimes I find people actually do the exact same thing. Why? Because the activities are very similar. You're essentially problem solving under a time constraint. The way you approach problems in a coding interview, or at least your habits and train of thoughts, are actually fairly similar. Even in the real world, you're not given an unlimited amount of time to fix an issue. How well you perform under pressure and whether or not you can make appropriate trade-offs is a hallmark of a good engineer. And even at this point, if you don't agree with me, the interview is our only way of judging your ability to solve problems. We can only assume that the way you solve whiteboard problems is the same way you will solve problems in the real world. And this non-quantifiable dimension can definitely be improved with proper LeetCode practice. If you're interested in getting good practice in, or getting a sense of what it takes, you can watch some of my past students' sessions, or you can sign up for a coaching session yourself. It's free. Link is in the description down below. In conclusion, there are many reasons why getting good at the coding interview is in your best interest. You get a lot more bang for your buck, the amount of effort to move the needle isn't as much as people think, not doing as well as you could have will result in years of navigating bureaucracy and politics. The alternative to not doing well on the coding interview can mean a lot of wasted time and missed opportunities. And finally, it is a great chance to learn more about what it means to be a software developer. Because software engineering is more than just code. It is the application of code, and the coding interview is just a game of figuring out how to apply code correctly. And just like any game, you can become extremely good at it with practice. The reward for being good is potentially life-changing. New opportunities, larger salary, and most of all, the ability to work with the smartest and most accomplished people in the world. So that'll do for me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.